Hello everyone, welcome back to Z Physics. Today we're going to be solving a GCSE paper from June 2018. This is the OCR physics specification for GCSE, and I'm only going to be going through the multiple choice portion of this paper. However, I am going to leave a link to the official mark scheme from the exam board on the OCR website. You could use that for the rest of the questions. Additionally, just before I get started, just let you know that these are just my solutions and they are not official exam board solutions. Okay, well, let's have a look at question 1. So, some EM waves are used to scan a person in a hospital. Which statement is true about a scan that uses EM waves? So, microwaves are used to scan skin. Absolutely not correct. Ultrasound waves are used to scan an unborn baby. Yep. This is absolutely correct. So the correct answer is B. So question 2. Which light ray shows the correct reflection from the plane flat mirror? So remember, the law of reflection says that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. The angle of incidence is just this angle over here, and the angle of reflection is this angle over here. So therefore the correct answer will be B. Question 3. Which statement is true about the nucleus of an atom? It contains neutrons and ions. Well, nope, ions is an ion is just an atom that is either lost or gained an electron, so definitely does not live in the nucleus. So anything that has an ion we can cross out immediately. C, it contains neutrons and protons and has a neutral charge. Well, if it contains neutrons, this one has a charge of 0, this one here is positive, so overall it will be positive. So this here is not correct. So part D, it contains both neutrons and protons, has a positive charge, is the correct answer. Question 4. Estimate the typical cruising speed of a jet airliner. So a lot of these questions are done by looking at values which are way too big and values which are way too small. So 25 meters per second is quite a lot. It's a large speed, but more or less typical. If you imagine a 50-meter running course, for instance, 25 meters per second means that you're covering half of that. So that's probably similar to a racing car. So something above that will be 250 meters per second. B will be the correct answer. 2,500 is way too high, and 25,000 is once again incredibly high. In fact, if something was moving at that high of a speed, it will be leaving the Earth's gravitational field. Question 5. A student experiments with a model parachute and collects some result. She drops the parachute from a height of 4 meters 3 times and takes 3 different results. We have the 3 results: 3.25, 300, and 3.08. What is the mean of those 3 results? Well, it's definitely not going to be 3, and it's not going to be 3.08. It will be a value somewhere in between this value and the maximum value. So the only one that fits the bill is 3.11. So the mean is going to have to be 3.11. So therefore the correct answer is C. Question 6. A student wants to find out which heater produces the largest temperature rise. Look at the results she collects and calculate, and the calculation she makes. Which heater has the results that are correctly calculated? So all we need to do essentially is take away the finishing temperature from the starting temperature. So for A, that's going to be 28 minus 18. That's going to give us 10. So this one here has a mistake. So is the next one. If we take 36 away from 18, well, we're going to get 18. 44 minus 18, that's 26. So that's going to be the correct answer. So the correct answer for 6 is C. Question 7. Which role A, B, C, or D is true for electromagnetic waves? Well, all EM waves are transverse waves. So any of the answers that are longitudinal we can cross out immediately. So that's incorrect and that's incorrect. They also move at the same speed through a vacuum. So their speed is independent of the wavelength, for instance, so they travel through space where all have the same velocity. That's absolutely true, so the correct answer is going to be D. If it wasn't, we would have different wavelengths reaching us, literally different colors of light reaching us from the sun at different times, but they all come in at the same time. Okay, anyways, question 8. A vehicle has an input power from fuel of 20 kilowatts and a useful output power of 6 kilowatts. Calculate the power it wastes. Well, if the total power is 20 kilowatts, that leaves 20 minus 6, which is going to give us 14 kilowatts of power that has been wasted. So the correct answer is C. Question 9. Which statement is correct about geostationary satellites? They are above the equator, definitely, so they always orbit around the equators. So D is not going to be a correct answer, and their orbital period is 24 hours. So they're called geostationary, so because they're stationary with respect to an observer on Earth. So it means that we don't have to adjust satellite dishes. They're always pointing at one location somewhere in the sky, where a satellite is moving at the same speed compared to an observer on Earth. So it always remains fixed in the sky. So it's 24 hours. In order to achieve that, they need to get to a pretty high orbit. Therefore, the correct answer will be B. Question 10. We have a student measures the time it takes for the sound from a firework to reach the observer. She takes 3 measurements. Which distance A, B, C, or D has the largest range of values? So in order to look at the range of values, we need to look at the difference between the highest value and the smallest value. So for this one here, the smallest one is 2.16, largest one is 2.19. That's going to give us a range of 0.03. If we just calculate that for all of them, we're going to see that C has the largest range at 0.09, because 1.89 take away 1.80 is going to give us 0.09. Therefore, the correct answer is C. Okay, question 11. Look at the diagram and which diagram shows incorrect refraction. The first one is absolutely correct. So we can see that if a light ray enters a block at 90 degrees, it's going to leave at 90 degrees. However, if a block enters at an angle, it's not going to magically align itself with the normal. It will bend towards the normal, but it will not go along the normal. So rather than going like this, it's going to sort of do that, and it will not do what is shown in this figure. So B is definitely incorrect, and we can put that in this box. Okay, question 12. We have a radio wave, has a wavelength of 100 meters. It has a speed of 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second, the speed of light. We're going to use the equation, the wave equation, which tells us the wave speed is equal to the frequency times the wavelength. What I've done just underneath is converted that word equation to symbols, just because I don't like writing words, and I find symbols being a little bit easier because you don't have to write out the whole word. So wave speed, just call that V, frequency, I'll call that F, wavelength, I'll call that with the Greek letter lambda. So frequency will be equal to the speed divided by the wavelength, which will be 3 times 10 to the 8 divided by 100. Now remember, 100 is actually 10 to the power of 2. So this will be equal to 3 times 10 to the power of 8, divide that by 10 to the power of 2. If we are dividing powers, it's the same as taking away powers. So this is actually equal to 3 times 10 to the 8 minus 2, which is equal to 10 to the power of 6. Remember, 1 megahertz or mega anything is equal to 10 to the power of 6. So the correct answer will be A, 3 megahertz. Question 13. Which equation shows a correct alpha decay? Now we have quite a variation here of particles. Now what is an alpha particle? An alpha particle is going to contain 2 protons and 2 neutrons. In other words, is the nuclei of helium. So we have the helium symbol over here. If it contains 2 protons, then the atomic number over here, or the proton number, will be 2. Up here we have the number of protons. This should say protons rather than photons. The number of protons plus the number of neutrons. And if we have 2 protons and 2 neutrons, we're going to have 4 in total up here. So the correct answer is C. Question 14, we have a wooden block with a mass of 2 kilograms and we're given the specific heat capacity. Calculate the energy needed to raise its temperature by 6 degrees. And we're given the equation as well, so the change in thermal energy will be equal to mass times specific heat capacity times the change in temperature. Our mass is given to be 2 kilograms and our specific heat capacity is 2000. Multiply this by 6. We're going to get 4000 times 6 and this is going to give us 24,000 joules. So the correct answer is D. Question 15, you have a lorry with a mass of 3,500 kg and it travels at a speed of 30 meters per second. Calculate the kinetic energy of this lorry. So this will be, our formula of kinetic energy as it says over here is a half times the mass times the speed squared. Rather than 0.5, I just used a half. So if it's moving at 30 meters per second, that will be a half times 3,500 times 30 squared, which is 900. So this will be equal to a half times 30,500 times 900. You could also estimate that by essentially dividing 900 by 2, which is going to be 3,500 times 450. If we do a little bit of mental math, we're going to get 1,575,000 joules. So the correct answer is C. Okay, folks, well, this concludes the multiple choice section of this past paper. Hopefully you found this useful. Let me know if you'd like me to do the whole paper. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.